let's ask the question then. Are Spurs being left behind in the top 6, do you think? Are we being left behind? Or
I think
we'll go on, John.
We could be, right? I don't think it's all doom and gloom, right? We could be. We are at a sort of a very important, like this season, next season. It's a bit of a fork in the road for us. And like I said before, I'm excited about the fact that we've chosen to go, right, let's get a really progressive front foot attacking like football style manager in to try and make that change, because that's the way that football is going, and that to me is a good decision. It's a step in the right direction. I think we've signed some good players. Like I think Destiny looks really good, and Maddison is really decent. Like we have some good young players like Sarr. We still have like one of the best players the Premier League's ever seen in Son. We do have a lot of things to be positive about.
Basuma, who should be on fire next season.
Basuma has been looking great in pre-season. Like we have a lot of like positive things.
So you would say almost like 9 of the positions are sorted. Like we have depth and quality in 9 of the first 11.
So we just need to make a few decisions right. And just to go back quickly on the sort of net spend scenario, like Cal makes a good point, right? Like Newcastle, where have they been for the last 3 or 4 years? Nowhere. They get money and they've spent basically nearly the same net spend as we have. And I think part of our issue is not just buying players, it's selling players and being prepared to take losses on players that haven't worked. Because if we, like I said, if we sold 10 players, I'm sure we could list at 10 for even just 5 million each, which would be below what we'd actually get for them in real life. That would knock that net spend down, and we'd be below like the likes of Villa and people like that. So it's skewing it, because we're also not doing a great job of being prepared to take losses on players that don't work and clinging on to those players. I think that's also like a big issue. But again, it's actually really easy to rectify these things, right? You sign a couple of centre-backs and sell 10 players you don't want. Suddenly our squad's looking pretty good, right? And we're in a pretty good position. So that's why I'm remaining positive and hopeful, because while I'm really frustrated by what we've done, to undo those things is also like really in our control and kind of easy to fix.
Yeah. What about you, Cal? Do you think we're being left behind? Do you think top 6 is, on paper, are we not a top 6 side? The big 6? Is the Premier League big 6 changing? You can't have a big 7 because that's nearly half the league. You can't. At some point, you've got to stop. But it used to be a big 4. It can't be big 6. Then soon it'll be a big 10. If we got to stop at big 6, right? Are we in it?
Yeah. Yeah, we're in it. We're in it. T made a good point the other day. We've been in Europe 15 years pretty much in a row. Clubs like Aston Villa and Newcastle come and go. And Newcastle aren't doing what a lot of people expected them to do. Everybody expected them for the Saudis to buy them and for them to suddenly become...
But FFP is stopping them from doing that, yeah.
Yeah, to go for Mbappe. But they had a bit of room, FFP-wise. They had a little bit of room for them where they could spend money, because Mike Ashley wasn't. And they do pretty well financially.
They have spent it. They're around where the limit is.
A bit.
Yeah. 400 million.
I think probably the Saudi regime, if you like, probably a lot of the focus is going on their own league, because it seems to be their own league now is where it seems to be the real investment from the Saudi state, not so much in Newcastle.
On that, Cal, how funny would it be if the Saudi ownership at Newcastle going, damn, we don't need Newcastle anymore. Look at all these players in our own league. Let's just go back to that. Let's just keep buying that. Or we're probably doing both, but yeah, no, that is interesting.
Yeah, they've just not done. They've bought some really good players. They've spent some good money, but they've not done what I perhaps people thought that they would do. And then Aston Villa, you don't know. They've bought some good players as well, but it's Birmingham. They're not going to attract loads of really good players up to fucking Birmingham.
They've done all right. To be fair, they've done all right.
They have.
They've signed players. I don't know. Pau Torres was linked at Spurs. I'll take Pau Torres over Eric Dyer or
Rodon, Tanganga.
Yeah, just not Romero's the only one probably. Diaby, they signed
take Alex from Bristol. I take Alex from Bristol over Eric Dyer.
I'd love to see Alex from Bristol just launching like a salmon on his 5'4" frame, just trying to get on the edge above.
Did you guys watch that clip I put in the WhatsApp group the other day of there was a camera strapped to one of those Aston Villa player? I can't remember who it was. He came on as a sub, and then you saw the pace of the game.
Tielemans,
It was Tielemans.
Another good signing.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's unreal, and that's what Alex from Bristol thinks he can keep up with that.
Yeah,
drives around in his nice car all day selling whatever he sells. And then he reckons he can walk onto a pitch and score 8 goals. Unreal. Unbelievable.
Still dick.
Yeah. What? Yeah, but like, if Spurs are to remain a part of the top six, and I think, like you say, you look at our squad, you look at how hungry we are, you look at that midfield that's full of quality. Basuma, Maddison, Bentancur when he comes back in, Lo Celso if he stays, we're all impressed with him in the pre-season. Not just impressed with him, so is Postecoglou, which is really important. This isn't just a case of Spurs fans looking at a couple of games and going, yeah, we want Lo Celso to work out for us. Postecoglou said, you don't have to go to Spain to ask about Giovanni Lo Celso. I'm going to tell you right now that we're impressed with him and we like what we see. This is Postecoglou. He's doing, like, imagine the ill feeling that Daniel Levy would receive if Postecoglou wasn't there. And there are people out there criticising Postecoglou for defending his team when the real issue is Daniel Levy. Man, that's insane. You know, if that's your mindset, that's insane in my opinion. But if you're in a situation where players want to play under him, and Basuma doing his Instagram posts about him being buzzing to go for training, and to be in a press conference where I think it was Ali Gold or someone else asked him a question about Lo Celso. We've heard reports from Spain, and Postecoglou just went, "You don't have to go to Spain. I'm right here. Ask me about my player. Ask me about my player who I'm fitting into my tactics." Do you know how refreshing and weirdly so obvious it is for a manager to answer a question like that? But what we've had over the last certainly under Conte was these weird mystic kind of. It was like the Krypton factor trying to figure out what Conte was saying most of the time. And suddenly we've got a guy, and it may be down to English being his second language, but I'm pretty sure he knew what he was saying. He was controlling information, and there was this power dynamic that he was installing into his position, because fundamentally you realise he wasn't going to be here for that long, and maybe that's just the way he is and the way he's managed himself and the kind of personality he is. All good, fine, whatever. Couldn't deal with it. I found it really difficult. We spent so many hours on this podcast trying to read between the lines to say, actually, no, he is happy and he's going to sign a new contract, when in the end, he was a dickhead. So you look at Postecoglou in these circumstances, and he's just straight talking and gone, just ask me about the player. I'm right here. Geezer brings out a Harry Kane t-shirt when, you're a bit of a dickhead, mate. You've made yourself look like an idiot. Do you know how refreshing that is? Just a normal bloke who is a good manager, who's had mountains of success wherever he's been. Fucking great. He's our manager. Fantastic. He can answer questions straightly, directly, and say, this is the answer. We like Lo Celso. We think he could be good next season, regardless of what's happened last season. I can't remember what the original question was, but I'm here for it. I think he's good.
Yeah. I think you think about him, I compare him almost to like a Jurgen Klopp, not so much in terms of the coach, but I think he'll be prepared to speak about things outside of the next game. Jurgen Klopp, you can ask him about ticket prices or things that are going on in the football club outside of the next game or the season. And I think that's what Postecoglou is going to be really good at, because, you know, we've said it, you know, ad nauseum that the communication from the club is not good. And I think Postecoglou is going to be really positive for that. And I've said this before, with no Europe next season, if we buy a couple of defenders, we can have a really, really good season, because we don't have that Thursday night shit.
That was the question.
The injuries are going to be less.
Who drops out, do you think? If Spurs get back into the top six, whose place do you think we could take?
Well, there seems to be this expectation that everyone that did good last season is going to do good this season. That's not how football works. It's like, oh, Brighton finished fifth, and no. Yeah, but Brighton are going to sell their best players.
They look good though.
You know, Arsenal were, to be fair to them, were fucking immense the first half of the season. 50 points from 19 games. They're not doing that again. They're not going to do that again. Man City are selling players. They're rebuilding. Liverpool are rebuilding as well. Man United are probably in the best position out of those four. To get back in the top six, I think Chelsea's the one, really, because Poch hasn't been in the Premier League for a few years, and he's shot to bits, fat cunt, shit prick. Anyway,
I mean, that's great. That was going to be a clip I was going to use for YouTube, but that's done. So. He didn't have to go there, Cal. Didn't have to say all of those things. You could have just said he probably isn't up to it anymore. because he had, he's been out of the game a little bit, and is Chelsea the right club
sorry.
for him? Is Chelsea the right club for him? You could have said all those, not called him a fat cunt.
The thing is, there's narratives for all of the clubs, all of those clubs in the top, like even top 7 or 8. There's mitigating reasons why, and Cal's right. Like the press love to make a big deal of like these are the clubs that did well last year. Yeah, there is that. These are the clubs who did well last year, so therefore these are the ones that are going to do well. And these are the clubs who didn't do well, aka Spurs, so therefore they're done now. They're out of it. And actually, like, even City, they'll probably win the league next year, and they'll probably win a couple of other trophies as well. But you could definitely make a case to go, once you've won a treble, like the motivation, like, can you be asked, like, again? Like, yeah, of course they're professionals and they care, but like, there's an element maybe they don't give a shit. Like United, I still can't really see that they've improved that much, and they still just don't carry that fear that they used to carry. I'm not like, when things really got on top for them last year, I don't really see them like knuckling down and doing that much. They still don't have. They've signed this. Well, they're going to sign this Højlund geezer. They still don't have an elite striker. They still don't have that. Like Liverpool, I don't know if they've like strengthened enough in their midfield. They still got the same centre back and like defensive problems that they had before. Is that going to take its toll? Chelsea signed a bazillion players, and they have he who shall not be named, Volder-Poch. Exactly, huge turnover.
In charge.
So there's all these like narratives, and like Newcastle again. Like, I just don't get it. I don't see it with them. I think they did amazing to get where they got to, because they've got a lot of ordinary players still in that squad, and they've got a manager again who's done a great job. But what happens if results don't go their way? Do they fire him? Then you got a new manager coming in. Yeah, you get a new manager bounce. Is it too late? Like, there's a million questions. So like, for me, it's just a case of let's just concentrate on what we can do really well. I agree with what you said about Postecoglou being much more statesman-like and much more able to, sort of lead by example and like set a good precedent for the club in terms of the way he communicates with the fans and being responsible for what's happening on the pitch and everything to do with that, but also being able to be just a sound bloke. I think the reason that like Scousers and Liverpool fans love Klopp is because he's aligned himself with the value of the club and talks about the club as a fan would, but not necessarily in the sort of crudeness of how fans talk about it down the pub. Like the sort of ideal kind of way that the romantic way that you talk about the club. That's how he talks about it. And that's what I think Ange is already doing with us. He's talking about the club and the institution in a way that makes you feel proud of it and makes you like feel that sense of belonging. If we start having good results, then that will really be like a powerful combo. I don't think there's any reason why we can't get back in the top 4 this year. Like, everyone's going, oh, Spurs are shit, they did so badly last year. We were so bad, and yet like we managed to really like be pretty close to being in the top 4 down to the last like 5 games.
Yeah,
before, and we were shite all season.
And Conte like imploded at that point. And we had a
imploded, sabotaged us everything.
Well, we had like do you remember? Petroni, he passed away. That was a massive thing.
Yeah. Oh,
that was a huge thing. It had a massive impact on the squad. It had a massive impact on Conte. Conte's head went. You could assume that had a massive part of it. He had to spend an inordinate amount of time in Italy recovering from something that should have been quite simple, because clearly he needed that break, which is fine. I understand it's on a human level. I understand it. But as a club that needs to be run and managed, and you need a figurehead or a statesman at the head of that club doing the things he needs to do in order to lead everybody, and you're talking about elite professionals under him, some of which didn't perform because of his personality, Basuma in particular, then there were massive mitigating circumstances of why last season was so bad, and probably why there are so many Spurs fans out there feeling so disillusioned about where the club's going to, and perhaps if the removing of Conte and the bringing in of Postecoglou and the positive impact he's going to have on his players and the new brand of football that we're going to be playing, that probably has much more value than people are realising at the moment. And we know we need defenders to negate some of the stuff that Postecoglou might be implemented, and maybe Postecoglou can go, all right, we've got enough here to fix it. I don't know what it is, but the reality and the expectation should be higher than what I think most Spurs fans are at currently. Maybe that's too bold, I'm not sure, So look, Liverpool, I don't think are already strong. Newcastle, I think, will have a much worse season than people think. There will be
Champions League football for them is going to be massive. It's the first time they're back in the Champions League. A lot of their focus is going to be on the Champions League games. Yeah. Villa are in the Conference League. Brighton in the Europa League. Arsenal are back in the Champions League. They're going to have a massive focus on being back in the Champions League, where Chelsea aren't in Europe, just like us. So actually, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Chelsea might have half a chance. But like you guys said, they've signed 1 billion players.
They've sold
they've
loads
got
as well.
That person as their coach.
Just quickly on that person. Just quickly on this topic as well, though. I just want to rewind a little bit to the end of last year when there was a lot of questions about would you take another serial winner, Mourinho, Conte type, and play this way of football and be pushing and the expectation be top 4, or would you rather have De Zerbi, Postecoglou type who would play great football and we could just forget the expectations and just get back to enjoying our football club? And I think there was a strong feeling from a lot of people of, do you know what? I just want to enjoy the football again. And the expectations of having to finish in the top 4 or when are we going to win a trophy just needs to be parked for a little bit. And let's just get back to basics of, can we just have a team we identify with and enjoy for a little bit? And I don't want to lose that, because I feel like that's what I was desperate for, is just in the short term, I just want a team that I can enjoy watching, without the expectations of we need to finish in a certain position in the league or we need to achieve a certain thing. If that team starts functioning and starts working well, then naturally, yeah, sure, let's set some expectations of what we want to deliver. But I do think we let's not do what we always do as football fans and forget what we literally said a few weeks ago, that we were desperate for just some good football, and suddenly put loads of pressure on Postecoglou to finish. I mean, I just said it, right? There's no reason why we can't finish top 4. Who cares? I just want to enjoy football again and see where it takes us. And hopefully it takes us out the league. But if it doesn't, but we're going in the right direction, then we can start setting some expectations of where we want to get to. I think we need to draw a line in the sand and just remember what we were all missing, which is a team we can enjoy and talk about the football and have fun again. Because I'm sick of the expectation and the media going, Spurs need to win a trophy. They need to finish in the top 4. Is it all over for them? The world doesn't end if you finish 7th. It just doesn't. So, also, relax, bruv.
Yeah,
relax.
Yeah. Also, a lot of the heat isn't going to be on Postecoglou, if any, at all. Because of the way he conducts himself, he will enamour himself with the Spurs fan base if they haven't already, or they're not already on board. The minute he gets into the Premier League, we're going to love what he has to say. The heat is all at Daniel Levy. Everyone's going to be backing Postecoglou and say, well, what's Postecoglou supposed to do? Look at what he's got to work with. Even though, again, I really want to ram this home. We have a squad steeped in quality, clearly good enough to qualify for the Champions League again, should we bring in those 2 defenders. And you might even argue, and this isn't me reneging on a previous position, because I desperately want 2 new centre-backs who young and malleable and quick and good with their feet. All the things that our current incumbent centre-backs, apart from Romero, are lacking. But there is incredible quality there. And if you get those 2 centre-backs in, then who knows what Postecoglou can do. And there is always a surprise team, and it could be Tottenham Hotspur. No one rates us. No one rates us this season. Yeah. No one gives us a chance. And that may well be what benefits us. We can use that to our degree, because they won't be expecting the way we play football.